This model of a corkscrew provides a great example of the improved modeling capabilities in VectorWorks 10.5. Let's take a look at how some parts of this model were created. The top of the handle has a complex curved shape and ribs inside it that stiffen the handle. To create the handle, I'll use these three NURBS curves that were created by drawing a line, arc, and oval in 2D, and then converting them to curves. Using the Revolve with Rail command, I'll click on these objects to define them as the axis, profile, and rail. Once defined, the surface is automatically created. Next, I'll give the surface a thickness using the Shell Solid tool. Then, to create the curved bottom edge, I'll center the shell over this extrude and cut away the bottom portion using the Subtract Solid command. Now let's look at the object in a top view. Here are some 2D shapes that will be used to create stiffening ribs and the central pillar of the corkscrew. I'll convert the 2D shapes to NURBS curves and then move them to the correct height. Now, using the Project tool, I can extend the curves to the underside of the handle. I'll simply choose the direction and the surface I want to project to. The rib is automatically projected onto the surface, and unneeded portions are trimmed away. I'll now repeat the process for the other rib and the pillar. Next, let's take a look at how the body of the corkscrew is modeled. Once again, I've created several curves and will use the Revolve with Rail command to create the basic shape of the body. These arms are a bit tricky to create because they have to blend smoothly into the body. To create them, I'll start by placing this simple extrude into position. I need to create a fillet between the two shapes. This is best done by converting the two objects into individual NURBS surfaces. Selecting these two surfaces, and then using the Create Fillet Surface command. I now have the basic geometry, but need to fill the gap between the fillet and the other surfaces. To do this, I'll start by selecting this top surface and extending it outwards with the 3D Reshape tool so that it covers the gap. Now I can select all of the surfaces and use the Stitch and Trim command to create an object that has the excess trimmed away. By mirroring this object around the center, I'll be able to complete the shape of the body. Finally, let's see how the actual corkscrew is created. I begin with a linear NURBS curve, which I'll use as the axis for a helix spiral. I'll add two more curves that create the straight section and the transition from the spiral. Because the corkscrew tapers to a point at its end, I'll have to create the tapered section as a separate piece, so I'll split the spiral in two. With all four parts of the screw defined, I can now combine them with this circular profile to create extrude along path objects. The final object uses the scaling feature new in VectorWorks 10.5. Over the length of the path, the profile will scale uniformly to 10% of its original size. Now let's take a look at the corkscrew in a fully rendered view. As you can see, with the new modeling tools in VectorWorks 10.5, you can easily develop and refine your complex designs in 3D.